Hey friends, welcome back to the Find Your Flow channel. And in this video today, we're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice.
But not just any practice, we're talking about deliberate practice. So when it comes to deliberate practice, I want to cover two things today very briefly. The first is, what is deliberate practice? And the second is, how can you start to practice more deliberately whatever it is that you're interested in getting better at and is eventually mastering. So when it comes to what is deliberate practice, there's a few different views on what this exactly means and what it means as far as your journey towards mastery. So originally, Malcolm Gladwell really popularized the concept of the 10,000 hour rule with his book Outliers. Prior to Outliers making this concept more popular, the idea of deliberate practice being wrapped around with the 10,000 hour rule came from the study of individuals, particularly in fields like chess and classical music composition, where an extensive number of hours is really necessary in order to become world class or to master the subject. And it's arguable that anything where you have to chunk down a big picture item like the chessboard into different units is really going to make a difference with this 10,000 hour rule, just because it takes so much time to accumulate all the knowledge and experience on every single permutation that comes around with that. But more recently, the argument has sort of evolved and shifted into a little more of a nature versus nurture debate. At the end of the day, when it comes down to deliberate practice, though, it's all about being very intentional and intense with your focus on whatever it is that you're trying to work on, which, as you'll kind of realize, also means that you're often spending more time in flow. I don't think that they're necessarily mutually exclusive, though, because when it comes to deliberate practice, especially in the early stages, there's going to be a lot of times where you're pushing that flow boundary too far and reaching that point of difficulty where things aren't going to come natural. You're going to have to learn a lot along the way. But deliberate practice is about mastering a subject, and it's an intentional way of growing and learning as you progress towards that mastery. When it comes to deliberate practice, there's essentially three main elements that make up the stages of a deliberate practice towards mastery, and those are learn, do, and repeat. And obviously, repetition, whether you're arguing in favor of the 10,000 hour rule or against it, repetition is still absolutely essential towards getting better at something and essentially becoming a master. And I think another sort of categorization that really helps with outlining these three steps is Tony Robbins' stages of mastery. Tony likes to talk about the three stages of mastery being the knowledge mastery, emotional mastery, and then physical mastery. And in the knowledge stage, it's all about acquiring new knowledge. This is the same as the learning stage in deliberate practice. So this could be whether you're going out and getting a mentor or reading books, or even just the early stages of practicing is learning in and of itself. And after a while, it starts to go into the doing stage or the emotional mastery, where you're feeling why you're actually doing something. You're starting to grasp the concept a little bit more deeply, and it translates later into the repetition. And repetition kind of equates with the idea of physical mastery, because the more that you repeat, and especially with deliberate practice, repeat it at a very high degree of intention or accuracy towards what's optimal or the best, especially for your body or your particular situation, that's where you're going to get more of this physical mastery, where it becomes innate and at a moment's notice you can execute on whatever it is you're becoming a master at. In the learning stage, be sure to read on the subject, acquire some knowledge. You can watch YouTube videos, whatever works best for you as far as gathering some information. Maybe it's podcasts. Just Take some time, but not too long, to acquire knowledge before you start acting on it. Think of it more as just in time instead of just in case knowledge, because the sooner that you can get to the doing stage and acting upon what you're learning, the faster you're going to accelerate your progress through the stages of deliberate practice, and the faster you're going to be able to take what you've already started to learn and apply, and then go back and build upon the next stage, whatever else you need to know, just in time. The do stage is definitely the most important stage of deliberate practice. You've got to keep doing something a lot and also be sensible about what your capacity is for a given time frame. So I think it's a good idea to start kind of with the same idea as the Pomodoro technique, which is being very intentional and focused for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. So whether it's practicing playing the piano, maybe it's studying chess and playing chess to improve in your chess game, sports, anything like that, where you're trying to get really good at something in the shortest amount of time, chunk it down into whatever time frame that you can do at the ultimate level for, and then go from there. Over time, you might be able to extend that 25-minute frame into an hour or 90 minutes at a time, that you can be very deliberate and intentional with your focus. And then when it comes to repetition, regardless of whether it actually takes 10,000 hours or much less, depending on whatever it is and whatever stage or skill you're trying to acquire, you definitely need to repeat an awful lot, and it's got to be on a consistent basis to really dial in that deliberate practice and not just lose any of the skill you've already acquired or have to go back and remember or repolish things that have started to be forgotten. The more frequent that you can build upon this consistently, the better off you're going to be. And so I suggest using some sort of tracker. I like using a bullet journal to just keep track of whatever it is throughout the month. You can even set the intention of how many times per week you're going to practice deliberately for whatever it is, and make sure you stick to that. And there's a lot of other apps and systems that you can definitely use as well in order to stay on track for yourself. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Both of these things really make a difference in helping to reach new members of the tribe that are also working towards doing things deliberately in their practice and working towards their dream goals. And until next time, dream on and find your flow.